I was wrong was almost our opening segment today, as you and I stood 10 toes down on an Alabama prediction, an Alabama win. In fact, I said right here that 24 was the magic number. That was perhaps the cap of Oklahoma's offensive production.
You did.
And here we have it, Craig. We were right for once. Not a we were wrong segment, but Alabama prevails after being down 17 to nothing. The freezing cold takes are all over the place, but not for us, at least not in our major game predictions because we were both on Alabama. What did you see kind of looking at it from a big picture standpoint? What stood out to you? You know, obviously for me, it's a big comeback and a statement for a guy like Ty Simpson.
Yeah, that was huge for Simpson. I don't know what it took so long for Alabama to show up, and I think the biggest takeaway: Oklahoma cannot be up 17 against an SEC team in the playoffs. They coughed it away in 2018 against Georgia. They do it again now, but Alabama, I think. Remember we talked yesterday, and I said Alabama just needs to show up and show that they're Alabama and play. That's what they did from about the second quarter on. They just out athleted and they just played better. They composed, and they threw you back a little bit to those saving teams, so they just kept pounding. Where Oklahoma got off to that fast start, they had a couple of things go wrong, and basically, I mean, they fell apart. But I'm gonna bring it up. Do we have to talk about Brent Venerables? Because I just feel like some of those game decisions with 6 minutes to go, kicking a field goal, seemingly taking a lot of time off the clock. I know they missed the first field goal where it was just wide left. I guess it looked like it went over the upright, but who knows? But there's some questionable calls where I feel like you're an Oklahoma fan, you're wondering, is BV really the answer, despite going to the playoff?
I think that they're pretty satisfied. I understand your question from an outsider's perspective.
Yep.
What I was able to see is, as we know, Craig, let's just call this like it is.
Mhm.
Every fan base has its level-headed fans, and then it has its fans who earn the name fanatic, right? And sometimes that means they say some wild things. We kind of make a routine of highlighting those things with the help of MBG, right?
Right.
But if I look at the level-headed Oklahoma fans and media, there seems to be an even keel of, hey, this was a heck of a turnaround. And so I think that I'm going to take that perspective and look at going from the offensive debacle that was 2024, Brent Venables' seat being on flames. Uh, absolutely, we thought that it was over heading into this year. We did not have high hopes for Oklahoma. Maybe that's our I was wrong moment, right? Like it's time for us to own it and fess up that we both didn't think they would be good. Maybe in that 6-6 range. I think I had them at 5-7.
Yep.
We didn't believe in Mateer making the transition. And we've said multiple times here on this show that we were wrong about that. And then he made
Yep.
the transition. But was this the moment that was too big for him? Where we've seen him be a little sporadic. We've seen him show these flashes of insane greatness. But it was mentioned here yesterday by Clint Lamb. And we've said it time and time again. Mechanically, he's kind of all over the place, which causes his ball to be inaccurate. Craig, that wasn't the problem though. This was just a clear miscommunication. He throws it straight into a pick six, like the one of the easiest pick sixes that you get as a corner, sitting down on that ball and just sprinting down the sideline. And John Mateer was not able to save it by making a tackle. That shifted the game and changed everything. When we talk about Uncle Mo and what sideline he's standing on, the momentum shifted big time when he threw that pick six.
I agree with you there too. Plus, you look back just before the punt, right? Everyone's thinking about the punt that was dropped on the ground versus actually hitting the Oklahoma punter's foot. But the play before that, Mateer hits his receiver in the hands. They couldn't come down with it. that could have turned a 17-7 game into 24-7. But like, Madrid could have ran that one too as well. Could have extended the play. My question is, now that the portal is open for Oklahoma, I think you go back shopping and see what's available. And Mateer is a nice player, but I don't think he's that elite top end player that we thought he was going to be. He's very good, but the gunslinger and the chances he takes, the bad form that he takes, may not be enough to get him to that next level. And maybe that's a question on Ben Arbuckle. Because I think we probably could have said the same thing for Jackson Dart in year 2 before he popped for Ole Miss in year 3. But I think there's questions on Mateer. I think there's questions with Oklahoma. Again, the defense is good. The offensive problems are still there, though. Oklahoma had an opportunity. I think we also have to talk about, maybe, Rob, I was wrong, right? I think when it was 17-0, I may have
Don't
said
worry, I
Notre
got it
Dame should
covered.
have been in. Yep. So, yes, we did predict it correctly. But, I want to give Courtney a shout out and give everybody a shout out. The reason why Alabama came back and won is because I jinxed them. And I felt very confident about that. I
Well,
also
it
may have
was
made the
you.
joke that, it was me and everybody else.
It was you and everybody else. I have
Yep.
thoroughly enjoyed the just combing through X, which is unhinged, by the way. Absolutely
Yes.
unhinged. I made the point earlier this week that X makes message boards look calm. It absolutely does. The fans on X
Fair.
are the next level of out there comments. And it's not just fans. Sometimes it's
Yep.
credentialed media. Sometimes it's players and coaches. You never know what you're going to get. It is the wild, wild west on there, and I'm here for it. I'm loving it. You were not the only one in that first quarter last night to stick your entire foot in your mouth. And I've
It
enjoyed
was
just
it
sitting
was
back.
fun, though. It was fun.
It was fun. It was fun. And now it's hilarious because I put my phone down. I ate a few wings at D's Wings. Shout out. I was able to sit back, watch the game, and see how it continued to unfold over the course of it. All right. So one thing that you said about Mateer, I want to make a comment on, though. I think this calls into question a bigger discussion. It's bigger than John Mateer. This development versus replacement discussion. And I think that everybody is going to have to evaluate that a little differently because everybody has a different player in whatever position, whether it is quarterback or somewhere else, and everybody has a different coach that is responsible for that player specifically. So the question for me just really comes into play. We want to look at Oklahoma specifically. Can Ben Arbuckle develop John Mateer to continue to grow in this system, in this league, against this level of competition? Or is it a situation where Brent Venables overrides everything and says, yeah, maybe we should, this guy's too good to turn down that we have here in the portal, whether that's Sorsby or Hoover or whoever it may end up being. I don't know that I necessarily like Hoover but in this system because he can't move as well.
Yep.
Great passer, but I think you're going to need feet in an Arbuckle offense. But we'll see how that plays out. Oklahoma would be a very
Yep.
interesting player in the quarterback market.
Yeah, and I think to that question, Mateer and Arbuckle package deal coming in from Washington State.
Exactly.
So when you think about when you bring up the question of what is Mateer's development, he's been with Ben Mateer, or I'm sorry, he's been with Ben Arbuckle. As I need to grab another cup of coffee, but he's been with Ben Arbuckle. So, like, if not seeing that growth now as a junior, can we expect those things to get cleaned up for next year as a senior? Because let's be honest, it's going to be year 5 for Brent Venables, and I don't know if a first-round playoff exit is going to be enough.
Well, the bigger question for me then, as we make a transition, is time for a talk about what's going on in the rest of the day, and we have Emily Taylor to kick that off. You had Emily Taylor earlier this week, and we'll get to that discussion in just a moment. The last thing that I'll say is we've seen what happens with Brent Venables when he has a quarterback and an offensive coordinator that match, and then he makes a change with one of them and it doesn't match. The guy that came in with Jackson Arnold was not who ended up calling plays when Jackson Arnold was thrust into the spotlight, and
Right.
that did not mesh. So if you change quarterbacks, you got to get somebody that matches Ben Arbuckle's system, because I do think the offensive system and the way that he called it this year was successful and works well at Oklahoma.